We are shifting focus right now to an entirely different story, one that was playing out in Tamil Nadu a few months ago, and the Supreme Court now making remarks on it. Udayanidhi Stalin, you remember the son of the DMK Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, has been in some controversy for remarks that he made on Sanatan Dharma. Now, we'll play out for you right now what the Supreme Court has come down very strongly on Udayanidhi Stalin. They've said, you're not a layman, you're a minister. You should know the consequences. You abuse your right to freedom of speech and expression. Do you not know the consequences? This is what the Supreme Court had to say. Remember, a plea was made by Udayanidhi Stalin seeking the clubbing of multiple cases that have been raised in this entire controversy. Remember, this was perhaps the first big jolt that the INDIA saw, where you had Udayanidhi Stalin making statements that the INDIA itself could not seemingly see eye to eye on. Indeed, he is the Minister of Youth Welfare and Sports Development, which is what the Supreme Court is referring to. Let's go over to our legal correspondent, Ananya Bhatnagar, to understand more. Ananya, first highlight for us what the Supreme Court said, then we'll take you to more questions, please.
Well, definitely, the Supreme Court is basically hearing, in fact, a petition filed by Udayanidhi Stalin seeking to club the various cases that are registered against him in various states over his remarks on the Sanatan Dharma, wherein he had compared it to dengue and malaria, is what he had said, if you remember, a few months ago. But the Supreme Court came down heavily on Udayanidhi Stalin, clearly going on to say that you are not a layman, you are a minister in the Tamil Nadu government, and then also you have, violated your right under Article 19(1)(a), that is the right to freedom of speech and expression, and also the right under Article 25 of the Constitution of India, is what the Supreme Court said. You should be aware of the consequences, is what the topmost court of the country had to say to Udayanidhi Stalin, though it will hear the case regarding the clubbing of FIRs next Friday. But these are strong words that are now coming from the topmost court of the country. Remember that this is a bench headed by Justice Sanjeev Khanna and also comprising Justice Deepankar Datta, which had criticized the remarks that are made by, in fact, Udayanidhi Stalin in his speeches against the Sanatan Dharma, where he had compared, in fact, Sanatan Dharma to actually dengue and malaria, and had said that this needs to be eradicated, were his words. And very, very strongly the Supreme Court opposing to such statements, clearly saying that he has violated his rights under Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution of India, that is the right to freedom of speech and expression, and he should be aware of the consequences thereof. Toya.
Let me just tell our audiences a little context, and Nanya, we'll come back to you in just a second. Stay with us, please. Udayanidhi Stalin made these comments back in September, and at that point, when this political controversy had been sparked by his comments, he had said he was ready to face any legal challenges. Tell our audiences, Ananya, please, after he made these remarks, we've just talked about the political reactions with his own alliance members, the Congress, for example, hitting out at Udayanidhi Stalin. But tell our audiences what the legal battle has looked like so far for it to reach the Supreme Court.
Well, there were multiple cases filed against him, one in Uttar Pradesh, other in various other states as well. Almost 5 to 6 cases they were filed in different states against him, and that's the reason why he had to move the topmost of the country seeking clubbing of fire, giving in fact the precedent of the Arnab Goswami and Nupur Sharma case, where cases were clubbed which were registered in various states or various territories. And very, very clearly and categorically, the Supreme Court didn't seem to go with the words that Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin had to say over Sanatan Dharma, clearly saying that he has violated his right under Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution of India, also under Article 25 of the Constitution of India. Very, very clearly and categorically going on to say that he is not just a layman, he is a minister in the Tamil Nadu government, and he should be aware of the consequences that he can actually face. And very clearly and categorically didn't seem to go into any kind of relief. However, when Mr. Singhvi was appearing for Udayanidhi Stalin, stated that he is not going on to the merit or defending what the statements were, but he had a right under in the Constitution to actually get these FIRs clubbed. There are precedents of the Arnab Goswami case, if you remember, of Nupur Sharma's case also. So whether or not that relief would be granted, we'll get to know next Friday. But strong words coming in against Udayanidhi Stalin, where Supreme Court clearly going on to say that he should be aware of the consequences of his statements.
And anyway, we'll just come back to you in a second. Right now, the BJP Shehzad Poonewala is with us right now. Let's go over to him to understand more. Shehzad, let me just repeat for our audiences. The Supreme Court has said you're not a layman, you're a minister. You should know the consequences. They've said you abuse your right to freedom of speech and expression. Do you not know the consequences? So clearly harsh words for Udayanidhi Stalin. Shehzad, if I could now get the BJP reaction to this.
Udayanidhi Stalin should have been sacked long back for his hate speech, which even the Madras High Court had called out. But Rahul Gandhi, who has a proficiency in starting Mohabbat Ki Dukan, I would like to ask him if this is Mohabbat Ki Dukan or Nafrat Ke Bhaijan. Apparently, every ally of the India alliance has abused Hindu religion, whether it's Ramcharitmanas being abused by RJD, whether it's Chandrasekhar and others who have abused the Ram Mandir, whether it's the Congress who have a long history of abusing Hindus and also calling the Pran Pratishtha as a RSS BJP event, and now this particular instance where they want to eliminate Sanatan. My direct question through CNN News 18 is only this: will Rahul Gandhi now take a stand against Udayanidhi Stalin, or does he consider this vote bank ke bhaijan and therefore this is Mohabbat ki dukan? Of course, we know that Mr. Kharge himself has called for Sanatan Virodhi statements. Mr. Priyank Kharge has compared it to a disease. So therefore, we know what the inclination of the Congress is. But yet, I would like to ask Rahul Gandhi whether he would come on, and not just Rahul Gandhi, Uddhav Thackeray claims to be a big champion of Hindutva. He used to claim that he is in the legacy of Babasaheb Thackeray ji. So Sanjay Raut, who is very articulate at giving sound bites early in the morning, please dial him also and ask him whether he will walk out of this alliance or will he continue to be in this alliance.
Okay, so we'll ask each of those. Shahzad, thank you for joining us, pointing out the discrepancy as he sees it between different INDIA allies and the views that they hold. Let's go back to my colleague, our legal correspondent, Ananya Bhatnagar, to understand more. Ananya, can I ask you, in the words that the Supreme Court has said, can we also read at all the Supreme Court coming down on the argument that Udayanidhi Stalin has the freedom of speech, the right to speech, and so he can and should be able to criticize the system? Are they essentially criticizing that too and saying that argument doesn't stand?
Well, definitely, the Supreme Court has clearly gone on to say that he has violated his right under Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution. That is the right to freedom of speech and expression. Remember that and it's for the context of our viewers as well, every right that we have in the Constitution of India comes with a little rider. We have to not, go beyond a certain limitation when it comes to freedom of speech and expression as well. And that's exactly what the Supreme Court pointed out today, that, you have violated that particular right, not only under Article 19(1)(a) of the Constitution of India, but also under Article 25 of the Constitution of India.
Okay, Ananya, let me just ask you to stay with us. I want to very quickly go over right now to Udit Raj, who is from the Congress. Sir, when this controversy first took place back in September, when Udayanidhi Stalin first made these comments, we had mixed remarks coming in from different Congress leaders. Some Congress leaders defending these remarks, saying he had the right to say what he had to say. But over time, we saw the Congress attempting to distance itself from these remarks. But sir, still, we've not seen one key message coming in from the top leadership. So we haven't, for example, seen Rahul Gandhi address this in clear words. So will we perhaps see him do that after the Supreme Court said this?
Why should we speak on behalf of Stalin?
Because they are your alliance partner, sir?
No. Why don't you say same thing from BJP? When BJP allies, Akali Dal, all others, they don't put up the question.
Sir,
so
we
don't
one second.
Make us
No,
fool.
Mr. Raj.
No,
Mr. Raj.
we are not fool.
We absolutely do.
Fool.
No one is calling you a fool, sir. That's why we're asking you to join us here.
We are not a spokesperson of DMQ. Ask from them. Why are
sir,
you
the same way we hold the BJP and the NDA responsible anytime one of their allies says something, it is fair to come to you in the INDIA and ask you if you're holding your allies, sir.
You thousands of examples that it's allied what they do. You never ask that why you're allied. Om Prakash Rajbhar and this and that. Many of them, what are they saying? You never hold accountable to BJP. Never.
Okay, but we do. All right. So you're saying don't ask us this question. That's essentially what you're saying in response to what the Supreme Court has to say. Is that accurate? Okay. All right. Udit Raj from the Congress. We'll look to speak to more Congress leaders to understand what their stance is in the INDIA alliance, how the alliance will respond to stern words coming in from the Supreme Court. Let's move on right now to a different story.